which was rendered by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation on Zambia's participation at the 80th United Nations General Assembly held in New York, USA from 2nd to 29th September 2025. And the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation was responding to Nkana Member of Parliament, Mr. Bino Mpundu.
Still to come, the House is expected to consider two questions for answer under Standing Order number 80. We do expect Mr. Jatila, who's chairperson of the Planning and Budgeting Committee, to move a motion urging the House to adopt the reports of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the consideration of the 2026 annual borrowing plan for the fifth session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th October 2020.
Question 45 and the order coming from Mr. Mabenga, Mulobezi Member of Parliament, to ask the Minister of Economy and Environment when the Forestry Department in West District will be provided with a motor vehicle to ease their operational changes. Engineer Mabenga wants to find out whether the government has any plans to recruit more forest officers. If so, when the plans will be implemented, and if there are no such plans, why?
All right, so as soon as the quorum is constituted, business will resume. 1/3 of members of Parliament need to be present in the House in order for business to be transacted. And as soon as that happens, business will resume as the House is considering a ministerial statement that was delivered earlier by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Honorable Mulambo Haimbe, on Zambia's participation at the 80th United Nations General Assembly, UNGA 80, held in New York, USA, from the 2nd to 29th of September 2025. And so just before the break, we did see some members of Parliament asking the Minister follow-up questions. And just before the break, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation was responding to a follow-up question.
Just to remind the honorable members who have credentials to log in, please, we need your attendance. Please do log in, otherwise there will be no more credentials granted because it's not being used to our benefit. Order, honorable members, I believe we have a quorum. Honorable members, I wish to recognize... sorry. I wanted to recognize the honorable member for Chipiri. You may take your seat. You are welcome. When business was suspended, the House was considering the ministerial statement presented by the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and the Honorable Minister was responding to a question asked by the Honorable Member from Nkana. May the Honorable Minister continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before we broke off, I was at the point of explaining the statistics from UNGA 80 in terms of the participation by member states. I'll repeat, as per my ministerial statement, there were 189 member states that attended this year's UNGA, of which representation was by 83 heads of state from amongst those 189 member states, 41 heads of government and 45 ministers. So the point being that it's a matter of practice that is accepted at UNGA, contrary to the assertion by the Honourable Member from Kana, that there will be representation at different levels. That does not downgrade a country's presence at the UNGA by the fact that they've sent representation. In fact, Madam Speaker, if we were to go by the logic used by the Honourable Member from Kana, looking at these numbers, it would suggest then that of the 46 member states who sent representatives other than the heads of state, the suggestion is that those 46 member states do not take UNGA business seriously. That logic, Madam Speaker, unfortunately, is not how it applies. Just to demonstrate the point, the delegates that attend go with full authority from the states that send them, regardless of the level of representation. And the decision as to whom will represent is based on a number of factors, including the law itself, which gives certain functions to specific individuals, and other matters which will be considered by the sending government as the case may be. So, in short, Madam Speaker, and to put paid to this narrative that has actually been going around the country for some time, there is no downgrading of any sort when representation is chosen as a matter of practice, not only in Zambia, but across the world by a minister, for example, to represent a country at UNGA. It is an age-old practice which should not be politicized here in Zambia by the honorable members. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Lukulu East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Let me first applaud the ministerial statement by the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, and in so doing also take note of the lean delegation that went to represent us in New York, which is a far cry and departure from what we have seen in the past, where huge delegations were transported at great cost. This also means that we are achieving more with less, and it is a great example of what efficiency can do. However, Madam Speaker, my question relates to the work that happens at UNGA. In particular, various other high-level meetings are held, as the Minister said, and in this particular case, there were very, very high-level meetings on gender equality, commemorating the Beijing conference. There was a high-level meeting on non-communicable diseases, among many others. And some of the declarations that are signed there eventually will find their way on the floor of this House, or members are required to follow up and hold government to account. However, I do note the absence of members of Parliament on these delegations. Honorable Minister, are you not considering in future delegations to include at least 1 or 2 members, as other countries do, especially from our Committee on Security and Foreign Affairs? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for Lukulu East for that question, a very important question. And the preamble to it, which is in respect of the delegation that was sent. The primary consideration at this time when we are in a difficult fiscal space is whether or not the people that are sent are able to deliver the mandate of the country in terms of the business that is to be undertaken at each particular international meeting. Indeed, the Honourable Member for Lukulu East makes an important point that members of Parliament, be it on your left or on your right, are important elements to join these meetings, not only the UNGA, but the other international meetings that we have from time to time. I know as a matter of practice, we have outside in certain of the meetings, especially those relating to our relations with the African continent. For instance, the African Union, we do carry along members of parliament from time to time. But the point is taken, and I would like to assure that with fiscal space allowing and larger delegations going, then we should be able to share the work that needs to be done at these international meetings more evenly. As it is now, Madam Speaker, in fact, the delegations that attend are put through a very stressful environment, because they have to attend to multi-sectoral meetings, of course with full briefs from the line ministries, and as such you find that a day, every time that we are out there, at least under the New Dawn administration, there's no room for playing, as seems to have been the case in the past. Instead, we are up at 7, and by only around 21, 22 hours on each particular day, we are putting in a 10-hour shift to ensure that we represent the country to the best of our ability, as was the case at UNGA 80. In fact, myself, I even had to do a day trip into Washington, D.C., and then get back the same day so that we could continue business. So it is a grueling task with which we put our all and give it the maximum pride in serving our country to that effect. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Lunte.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, thank you for your statement. Honorable Minister, the question that was asked by the Honorable Member of Parliament from Ghana, in my view, was one of prioritization, which may imply that the United Nations is likely to prioritize presidents and vice presidents before they actually bring ministers on board to deliver their addresses. However, that notwithstanding the fact that there are many caucuses to which even ministers like yourself and others may belong while you are attending that particular important caucus. However, my question is, while you were attending this very important meeting, did you take advantage of your presence in the United States of America to seek an appointment, perhaps with the American president, Mr. Trump, in order for you and your government to reconcile with him regarding the current president? Our president said about Donald Trump to the former Vice President Kamala Harris, in view of his arrest, prosecution, and perhaps the other issues that could have followed. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, first and foremost, again, it comes back to, and I thank the Honorable Member for Lunte for his question and for the preamble to it. Madam Speaker, it comes back to being factual on the floor of the House and looking at what in reality we have to address. This is a serious business of running government, and it's serious business of interacting with foreign heads of state, foreign governments. It is not correct to say that there is anything to start off to reconcile between President Trump, as it were, and the Republic of Zambia, or indeed President Hakainde Hichilema. In fact, to the contrary, Zambia enjoys wonderful, cordial relations with the government of the United States of America. With administrative changes that have taken place, we understand and appreciate that there will be a shift in foreign policy. That shift in foreign policy is not Zambia-specific, Honorable Member for Lunte. The shift in policy is one that applies to the whole world. One cannot pinpoint Zambia and say that there is an issue between Zambia and the United States. The contrary is true. In fact, as I mentioned during the substantive statement, I took the opportunity to actually engage with the State Department of the United States of America, and we spoke very positively. The U.S. is looking at Zambia as one of its key partners on the African continent in terms of destination for FDI. The U.S. is looking at, notwithstanding its withdrawal from the social sector, finding a way in which our relationship will be one of mutual benefit, changing the landscape completely. And already as Zambia, in keeping with our policy of economic diplomacy, we are saying for us to, as the President said, reset the relationship. And a lot of work is going on, part of which took place at UNGA, at the technical ministerial level, as well as at the level of officers that were present and engaged with their counterparts. In fact, you might want to know, Honorable Member for Lunte, and through you, Madam Speaker, the Republic generally, that, for instance, the work being done by our two missions that are resident in the United States, that is the permanent representative to the UN on the one part, stationed in New York, and the ambassador stationed in Washington. These are continually engaging not only with the US government, but through the UN system with the rest of the world in very effective. This is why you have seen Zambia was part of the Financing for Development negotiating team. It was part of the Pact for the Future, which was adopted by the UN at UNGA 79, because we are effectively engaging and are duly respected by the international community for our engagement and what we are bringing to the table since 2021. Madam Speaker, it's Zambia Kuchalo, Zambia to the world. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kabwe Central.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to ask a follow-up question to the statement made by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Madam Speaker, in any gathering at the United Nations Assembly, the issue of gender equality is always a priority. And if we look at the United Nations review, which took place in March 2025, where the President of China, Xi Jinping, they are committed and reaffirmed the commitment on gender equality. And from the commitment he made, he said they will train African countries, about 50,000 African countries, in a comprehensive approach to women's empowerment. And already we are seeing this month that China is actualizing trained about 36 women in the same vein. So I want to ask a follow-up question. And the reason why there's this commitment and the emphasis on every assembly is because the countries have realized that gender equality is not just a cry for women for social protection, but women are a cadre which are very important for social and economic development. Now my question is, do we have any commitment that Zambia made during this assembly, Honorable Minister, when we went towards gender equality? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Indeed, as mentioned in my the substantive ministerial statement, Zambia was actively engaged in several high-level meetings, including, as I mentioned, the high-level meeting on gender equality, commemorating the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration. Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for Kabwe Central for that question. I apologize for not doing so right at the outset. Madam Speaker, as indeed rightly pointed out by the Honourable Member for Kabwe Central, the commitments that are set out in the Beijing Declaration bind the entire globe, including Zambia. And part of our participation at the UNGA 80 was to reaffirm that commitment, one, and also to explain amongst our peers what efforts have been undertaken in order to achieve those particular obligations as we have agreed now, especially in the 30th anniversary. So to this effect, I would confirm that yes, we made those commitments. I would also confirm that in fact PS Gender Division did travel as part of the delegation and delivered a keynote address on behalf of Zambia on matters to do with gender equality. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Katombola.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for according the people of Katombola to contribute a question. Honourable Minister, allow me to begin by congratulating you for representing us well at the UNGA 80. My question actually is bordering on international security or international peace. We go to the General Assembly year in, year out, but the security in the international space, country over some time, becomes a challenge. You saw what happened in Gaza. You saw what has been happening in Yemen. You saw what's been happening in Syria and other countries on the Russia-Ukraine war, and all these problems that our people go through in the face or the presence of the United Nations. Could you assure us, Honourable Minister, that during your interactions you are finding instruments that would help bring peace once and for all in the world. Today, the countries are not at peace. They are afraid of going to war. We are losing lives, property, just like it happened in the Second World War. When we formed UN in 1945, we committed that never in the world again should property and lives be lost the way it was lost in the Second World War. We still see these threats. What assurance do you give the people of Zambia and the people of the world, Honourable Minister, that the payments we are making and the attendances we are making to the United Nations will yield international peace and world honor? I thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the Honourable Member for Katombora for that very important question. Madam Speaker, at the outset, let me respond by stating that it is now a clear part of Zambia's foreign policy that it stands on two legs, principally economic diplomacy on the one hand, but more importantly, in respect of your question, peace, security, and stability on the other hand. So wherever we go, be it the UNGA or any of these other international fora that we attend, the primary, one of the primary objectives is to espouse the principles of peace, security, and stability. And in respect of the conflicts that are taking place across the globe, and more importantly on the African continent as well, we have put our voice very clearly that we do not support conflict, and that dialogue should be the basis upon which any disputes or disagreements should be addressed. So in respect of the conflicts that you have mentioned, for example, yes, our voice was put forward very clearly that we would want to see an end to that and practical steps taken to find a solution to those particular conflicts. But from a broader perspective, in terms of the principles that we espouse as a country, this is part of the reason why we support the Common Africa position. As the Honourable Member for Katombora would know, for example, 70% of the agenda of the UN Security Council relates to conflicts or humanitarian issues on the African continent. And yet Africa has no voice on the Security Council. How do we treat that injustice so as to ensure that we are effective as a continent to sort our own challenges out? One of the ways is by calling for UN Security Council reform, which is one of the biggest of our agenda items that we deal with whilst at UNGA 80. So we are working, and we are working diligently and effectively. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Chipili.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for your recognition. Honourable Minister, Honourable Minister, on the permanent seat, African countries have been advocating for this for some time now, and it's overdue. Do you have any means this so that they can to our request as African countries? One of the areas I was thinking is to protest. When you go there, you agree as to say, for us, we are not going to speak, but you will be there, and then when you are asked, you will be able to share with them to say, no, we want you to answer our call. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for Chipili. I see you, Honourable Member for Chipili, very brightly there. Madam Speaker, indeed, I think the question is what is the effort that is being put in place to lobby the member states of the United Nations in order to achieve the voice that we want to achieve on the permanent, as a permanent member of the Security Council. The member for Chipili puts forward a very interesting approach. It hasn't been tried, to my knowledge, by us. Rather, we've opted for engagement. And indeed, the P5 members, the permanent to our voice. We've also insisted that we must be given priority. And the African voice, by the way, honorable member, is now much louder than ever before because the world recognizes the place that Africa is taking in world affairs. Everybody knows, for example, that development and other matters relating to economic prosperity are driven by the youth in any particular continent or country. Africa has got the biggest number of youths from across the globe. Africa has got the biggest population from amongst all the continents. So it is a matter, and it's got the most resources. So it is a matter of now the world accepting that they cannot ignore us anymore. And that is the pressure point that we are adding and saying that you cannot ignore us, you must prioritize us, failing which then the Security Council would not be achieving what it aims to achieve. So, yes, it has been 20 years of discussion of the Zuluini consensus, but now the times are different. They are listening to us because our voice is being heard as a continent. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. We make progress. Questions for oral answer under Standing Order 80. The Honorable Member for Isoka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the people of Isoka are asking question number 44. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister of Education, who likes saying quality.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, Honorable Nakaponda for Isoka constituency is asking the Minister of Education the following questions. But Madam Speaker, through you, I want to appreciate and thank Honorable Nakaponda for development rather than politicking. It's very, very important. That's why I always appreciate her. When I say quality, indeed, Madam Speaker, it's quality. And these are the questions. She's asking how many community schools there were in the Isoka district as of August. In B, of the schools at above, how many are here marked for upgrading to government schools? In C, when the schools at B will be upgraded. And in D, if those schools will be upgraded, she's asking the reasons why. Madam Speaker, as of August 2025, that's answering question A, Isoka district had only 4 community schools. And this follows the gazetting of 12 former community schools as government schools by the Minister of Education in 2024. So that means that she had about 16 community schools, 12 upgraded, 4 about to. In B, Madam Speaker, all the 4 remaining community schools in the Isoka district have been earmarked for upgrading to government schools. This is in line with the ministry's ongoing program to formalize and also strengthen education provision nationwide in accordance with the objective of the free education policy and its national development plan. And in C, the process of upgrading these schools is being implemented progressively during the year 2025, this year. The exercise is currently at the validation stage, involves verification of documentary evidence of land ownership, ability, and also community consent. This is being done prior to legal clearance by the Minister of Justice. Once cleared, the schools will be duly gazetted as government institutions, thereby raising their status and enabling them to receive full government support in terms of staffing, funding, and infrastructure development. Indeed, obviously in view of my response, Madam Speaker, which I have provided in B, and so D does not apply because, and we are upgrading. So as of 4 community schools in the Isoka district, indeed, these 4 have been earmarked for upgrading. Madam Speaker, you are very committed to ensuring that all eligible community schools are progressively integrated into the public education system to enhance equitable access to quality education for all learners. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions, the Honorable Member for Isoka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, what specific initiatives will the Ministry of Education implement to strengthen the capacity of community schools, particularly in my constituency? Especially, I have one constituency, I have one community school, Mwenimpangala Community School, and there's a population in that area. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Education.
Thank you once again, Madam Speaker. I think the measures are very, very clear. In fact, I should even help out because the 4 training and updated schools that have been here are very, we are specific. That is Chipote Community School, Lupo Community School, Mpundo Community School, and Mwanda Community School. So the measures that we are putting in place, number 1, is to help giving you. Obviously, you might that this is the only government ever since Zambia was born. Ever since Zambia was born, to employ so many teachers in very few years. Numbers do not lie. Madam Speaker, Honorable Nakaponda is a member of the Patriotic Front. Our colleagues, Madam Speaker, in their 10 years of governance, their 10-year rule, they only employed 7,000 teachers. Only? In case people have forgotten, only 7,000 teachers. Now this government, only we have employed more than 42,000 teachers.
So there is an indication for a point of order. Honorable Member for Mwense, as a point. What's the point of order?
Madam Speaker, my apology. Normally I don't like, I like listening, whether truths are being told. The Honorable Minister of Youth and Sport knows that I've been in this chamber for a long time, and that I was the Minister of Education in this country. Would it provide statistics, evidence from the Minister of Education, to indicate that in the 10 years of the PF, only 7,000 teachers were employed? I seek your indulgence, Madam Speaker.
Oh, the honorable members, I don't know what breach has been. There was no citation of an outstanding order that has been breached.
Madam,
so the point of order is not admitted. Let's make progress. The Honorable Minister for Acting Minister of Education, please be factual.
Take and go out, Madam Speaker. What is the number? Thank you very much. I want to repeat that your government, Madam Speaker, last 4 years more than 42,000 teachers. So we have every reason. We have every reason even to tell the Zambian people that this is a government that indeed looks at their affairs.
Sorry, Honorable Minister, there's another point of order. But what, looking at the business that we have on the order paper, we are still very far from completing. So this will be the last point of order. We want to make progress so that we get to the business. What's the point of order, Honorable Member?
Madam Speaker, the point of order is pursuant to Standing Order 71, that the information we put here out must be verifiable. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Minister on the floor is insinuating that for the first time in the history of this country, only in 4 years are the teachers been employed more than any other government. Madam Speaker, it's always important to be factual. We are the United Independence Party in the government, which got us all, most of us, educated here. Movement for multi-party democracy, where the gentleman, Honorable Minister, was a member and a very active member of Zanama at the time, when the MMD was employing teachers. The Patriotic Front came and employed a large number of teachers under the Honorable Mabumba as minister. If he can't provide these statistics to compare, where does he get that information to insinuate? Because these are progressive, Madam Speaker, and they are done in proportionate to the population growth. You don't just employ. And schools have to be built. So you can't employ where schools have not been built. Was in order to make a bracket insinuation in that fashion, Madam Speaker? It needs to be guided. 71.
Order, Honorable Member for Shuangandu, you have sufficiently debated your point of order. Can we make progress? Honorable Minister, please, you are reminded, be factual and compare, to have statistics, one number against the other, so that honorable members have clear information. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will indeed compare. But I want to start by saying that, in fact, this government has been very, very prudent in the way we are managing the resources. Instead of buying a lot of tear gas, we are employing teachers. So many teachers have been employed compared to the tear gas that were bought by the previous regime. So for me, that was just a waste of resources. As we are now pumping into something that the people would be able to appreciate. Having said that, Madam Speaker, I want to again say that UNIP is 4 years. They couldn't employ 42,000, Madam Speaker. Numbers don't lie. I was referring for the 4 years. The 4 years that we've been in the office, we have employed 42,000 teachers. Not any government, including PF, MMD, or UNIP, employed in their 4 years, employed 42,000 teachers. All right, Mabumba knows. So I thought I should clarify that one, Madam Speaker. 7 years, 10 years. 7,000 teachers, 10 years. 4 years, 42,000. People have everything to smile about, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Nakaponda, the major is to employ teachers so that they can teach your children. Number two, we are also giving grants. We are also also putting up infrastructure. And Honorable Nakaponda, you are a lucky member of Parliament. Can you imagine every community? These things do not come by accident. No. It's not by chance. You've chosen, as I said, than politicking. You are one of those than politicking. So, Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that desire to raise points of order, but I've already guided. But Honorable Member for Kalabo Central and Honorable Member for Mitete, the Honorable Acting Minister of Education does not understand what Chibundu is. It's only the three of us who understand. Honorable Minister, the Chibundu means food, feeding. That's what they were trying to do, give you a leakage. Feeding, school feeding. Yes. So let's make progress. There are so many questions and we don't have much time. The Honorable Member for Isoka, you've asked 2 questions already. Oh, okay.
Madam Speaker, I just want to lobby through you, to lobby the Minister of Education to make sure that they employ more teachers in that 4 schools, community schools, which are not gazetted, and also to start giving them grants, and also to do some infrastructure. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Since it's a plea, maybe I would suggest, Honorable Member for Isoka, you visit the Minister of Education and put in those requests. You'll be more, because it will be like one constituency attending, asking for assistance from the Honorable Minister of Education. So please feel free to visit them. The Honorable Member for Shuangando.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Reluctantly, the Honorable Member's question, Honorable Nakaponda's question, was about upgrading community schools. She cited a number of those community upgraded. Of course, interestingly and excitedly, the Honorable Minister has gone beyond responding the appropriate responses to those questions. Honorable Minister, she asked you how many schools you intend to upgrade, when, and how you are going to support those schools which are being upgraded. I think that's what she wants to know. And that's what our community would want to hear from you, and not the statistics that you can't prove. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
I don't know whether the Honorable Member for Shuangando was with us when the Honorable Minister was answering the questions, because I have the answers here. I always write. He says, if I can just say, if my answers are correct, because I always write. So the Honorable Minister said that from, as of August 2025, 4 community schools are existing now, as the previous 12 were upgraded. So it only remained with 4 community schools. So on B, that all the 4 community schools will be upgraded. Then this will be done here in 2025 after the validation, the verification of ownership, consent from the Attorney General. So all those were given. So I don't know whether we need to go back, because we don't have much time. Well, the other, maybe the Honorable Minister can answer the other question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Indeed, you've really guided, and that was our response, that we had 16 community schools in Isoka. 12 has been upgraded, not by any other government, by this government. If you may be aware that these community schools started around 1996, we came up with a policy, nothing was done until we came. We have now, because we want to make sure that we give them infrastructure, the same people. So we are trying by all means now to upgrade these community schools so that answer to the challenge of infrastructure. So 16 districts, 16 community schools, 12 have been upgraded, 4 marked for upgrade. Yeah. In 2026, that's what I said. Madam Speaker, to just give comfort to Honorable Nakaponda, maybe I didn't mention the measure. This is the only government again that has given the school feeding program to all the primary schools in this country, Madam. For the first time. That's why the citizens of Zambia now have come to realize that indeed they were waiting for this government. Yeah.
Let them say what they want to say, but people out there are appreciating what we are doing. We are giving loans even to university. The question in Parliament about how we are wasting some of the graduates. No, Madam Speaker, they are not even paying for these loans until someone is employed. I thought I should clarify that one. Is being asked to pay back the loan. So definitely when we I thought I should clarify that one. I thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Next question, the Honorable Member for Mulobezi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Mulobezi an opportunity to ask question number 45.
Thank you, the Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam 45, Honorable Raphael Mabenga, MP for Mulobezi, is asking the Minister of Economy and Environment the following question, which is in 4 parts. When the Forestry Department in Mulobezi District will be provided with a motor vehicle to ease their operational challenges. B, whether the government has any plans to recruit more forest officers. C, if so, when the plans will be implemented. And D, if there are no such plans, why? Our response, Madam Speaker, is as follows. On A, the Forestry Department in Mulobezi District will be considered for a motor vehicle in the next phase of the Ministry's Transport Procurement and Allocation Program in the coming year 2026, subject to availability of resources. The continuous vehicles, Madam Speaker, for the forest is being hampered by the lead assembly. As you may wish to know, the department currently requires more than 100 off-road vehicles, preferably Land Cruisers, to function optimally. To ease operational mobility challenges, Madam Speaker, my ministry has embarked on procuring motorbikes for use in areas where such means are suitable. However, for Mulobezi District, motorbikes are not ideal due to the sandy terrain. In this regard, the ministry hopes to allocate an appropriate vehicle once funds become available in 2026. B, Madam Speaker, recruitment of civil servants to improve service delivery remains one of the priorities of the UPND New Dawn government. While the current staffing levels in the forestry department remain low, the government recently employed additional technical staff who have since been deployed across the country. Although this recruitment is compared, there are still plans to recruit more forest officers to strengthen forest management, enforcement, and service delivery nationwide, including Mulobezi District. So far, Madam Speaker, Mulobezi District benefited in this exercise. Consideration be made for additional once Treasury Authority is granted. Of additional staff for the Forestry Department will be undertaken in a phased manner, depending on the granting of Treasury Authority. In the first phase, in addition to the already recruited staff in 2025, the ministry is filling vacancies left by officers who have since retired or left the service. This process will pave way for further recruitment. For example, the department needs to recruit about 1,800 forest range guards who serve as the frontline enforcement officers. The recruitment will be implemented progressively in line with the Treasury capacity, with firm plans envisaged to start in the year 2026 onwards. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Mulobezi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, thank you very much for those good answers. I just want to find out, Honorable Minister, whether it is possible for you to visit Mulobezi and see the conditions on the ground, because the situation is not it's not very good in terms of destruction of the timber or illegal cutting of the timber. Is it possible that you can come to Mulobezi and see what is on the ground? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the Member of Parliament for Mulobezi for that supplementary question and also the invitation to visit Mulobezi. Madam Speaker, you would recall a few days ago I was responding to the Member of Parliament from Mulobezi on another question, I think on timber harvesting, and I did promise to undertake a visit to Mulobezi, Shangombo, and Sioma. My officers are listening and will be planning for that trip. My desire is that your members, Madam Speaker, in the mentioned constituencies will be available during that trip. If they could be available, I'll be very pleased that we undertake this fact-finding mission together. So I desire to do this before the end of the year. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Iteji.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Minister, thank you for your responses. The situation is with across the country, not only in Montetic, and we need to agree that something has to be done. Just like Mulobezi, in Itezitezi, if you came to the forest office and check where they sit, the type of an office minister, here is a department minister that is less than 5,000 kwacha per month, and they are expected to undertake surveys to go in the a lot of illegal timber going on, and there's completely no capacity. So, Minister, in terms of providing the vehicles, the motorbikes, do you have a schedule on which districts you have to prioritize? I know Mulobezi is in a dire situation, and we've got districts with a lot of forests like it is. They've never had a vehicle from the time Zambia came into existence. The forest department, not even a motorbike, not even a bicycle. How do you, would you able to help us understand which areas will be prioritized where there are serious issues of deforestation and the officers have got completely no capacity? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank Honorable Mutinta, Member of Parliament for Itestezi, for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, all the districts of Zambia will be given the attention that they deserve in terms of assisting the Forest Department. Madam Speaker, for a long time, most of these districts were actually operating with very low capacity. In certain cases, we did not even have district forest officers. But I can tell you now that all the districts, we have been building capacity, and we have recruited the district forest officers, very competent forest officers. Now, to continue building capacity and also giving them working tools, that is what I said, that as and when the resources are available, we'll be able to provide the logistics, including motor vehicles and motorbikes, to improve mobility and to enhance the capacity of our officers to protect the forest. So it is staged in our focus to attend to the districts, to attend to our officers, at a stage will not be left out. In terms of me mentioning the districts that will be prioritized, I think I'm not able to do that now, but suffice to say that all the districts will be given the attention that they need. But of course, you have to take into account that we need to appreciate the terrain to look at the needs of each district. In certain districts, like I've said, in Mlowezi, we can't give motorbikes because the terrain is not user-friendly for motorbikes, but we want to give the vehicles. So equally, for Ite stage, we know it's one area which has a lot of forest and a lot of potential to ensure that we allow the regeneration of the forest, we ensure the protection of the forest and the trees therein. So we'll be looking at how we can assist our district officers. It's true, Honorable Member of Parliament, that infrastructure has been very, very poor. And obviously, because of the low attention that was given to a very, very critical sector in the past, the UPND New Dawn government is giving this sector the attention, because the protection of the forest is the way to go. The whole world now is talking about protecting the forest. The whole world now is talking about planting trees. As we speak here, Madam Speaker, next month, the whole world, the focus will be in Brazil, in a town called Belém, which is very close to the Amazon forest. And the idea why the COP30 will be in that city is to showcase how Brazil has protected one of the giant forests of the world. So the point I'm making here is that we must join, Zambia as a country must join the rest of the world to talk tough in terms of protecting the forest. And I'm happy that the Member of Parliament for Ite Stage has placed emphasis. I'm also happy that the Member of Parliament from Mlowezi has taken very keen interest in the business and the activities of this ministry. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member from Mlowezi, you are satisfied, I take it? Okay.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I'm very satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, then let's make progress. We have another motion that we need to look at. Motion, the Honorable Member for Momba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to move that this House do adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the consideration of the 2026 Annual Borrowing Plan for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th October 2025.
Is the motion seconded?
It is, Madam Speaker.
Order. Seconded by the Honorable Member for Kafulafuta. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the consideration of the 2026 Annual Borrowing Plan for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday. I'll repeat. Seconded by the Honorable Member for Kafulafuta. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the consideration of the 2026 Annual Borrowing Plan for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th October 2025. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Momba.
Madam Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Section 8(4) of the Public Debt Management Act number 15 of 2022, the Minister responsible for Finance presented the 2026 Annual Borrowing Plan to the National Assembly for approval, in line with Standing Orders 175(1) of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2024. The committee held 9 meetings and received both oral and written submissions from key stakeholders, including the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, the Bank of Zambia, civil society organizations, and other policy think tanks and financial institutions. Madam Speaker, the 2026 annual borrowing plan was presented against a macroeconomic background characterized by fiscal consolidation, constrained fiscal space, and the need to sustain growth amid continued external vulnerabilities. The proposed expenditure by the government in the 2026 financial year is projected at 253.1 billion kwacha against the total revenue and grants, which is estimated at 218.6 billion kwacha, resulting in a budget deficit of 34.5 billion kwacha, Madam Speaker. The annual borrowing plan, therefore, seeks parliamentary approval to finance this deficit through 21.6 billion kwacha in net domestic borrowing and 12.9 from already contracted external loans. The plan, Madam Speaker, has been carefully structured to minimize vulnerabilities to external shocks by placing greater reliance on domestic borrowing. For refinancing maturing debt in 2026, while 21 directed towards the budget deficit. The committee further notes that the fiscal deficit for 2026 is projected at 34.5 billion kwacha, which represents 3.7% of our GDP. This gap will be financed through domestic borrowing of 21.6 billion and external disbursements amounting to 12.9 billion from existing loans, Madam Speaker, which has no recourse to new external borrowing. The reintroduction of the benchmark bond program under the plan is a welcome development that aims to extend the maturity profile of government securities, which smoothens redemption risks and enhance secondary market liquidity. This, Madam Speaker, is consistent with the objectives of the medium-term debt strategy, which seeks to develop a stable, predictable, and deep domestic debt market. Madam Speaker, the committee takes note that the 2026 annual borrowing plan demonstrates the government's continued commitment to prudent borrowing, transparency, and macroeconomic stability. Notably, there will be no contraction of new external loans, a policy stance that supports the ongoing debt restructuring reforms under the G20 Common Framework and the IMF Extended Credit Facility Program, Madam Speaker. Further, the plan's focus on domestic market development represents a strategic shift in fiscal management. It supports the twin objectives of reducing foreign exchange risks and building resilience within the domestic capital market. However, Madam Speaker, the committee would like to caution the government regarding the increased reliance on domestic borrowing, as it could lead to the crowding out of private sector investment if not carefully managed. To mitigate this, Madam Speaker, the committee urges enhanced coordination between monetary and fiscal authorities to ensure that borrowing remains non-disruptive to private sector credit flows. Madam Speaker, the annual borrowing plan has identified 34 projects to be financed through disbursements from existing external loans, which are valued at approximately $494.9 million. However, the annual borrowing plan has not provided detailed information on loan terms, maturity profiles, currency composition, or lender identities. The committee, therefore, Madam Speaker, recommends that future annual borrowing plans should contain comprehensive information to enhance parliamentary oversight and public accountability. The committee, Madam Speaker, reiterates the importance of adhering to the provision of the Public Debt Management Act number 15 of 22, particularly section 11 2A, which sets a debt ceiling of 65 GDP effective 2027. With Zambia's debt to GDP ratio currently estimated at 98%, there is limited fiscal space to accommodate new borrowing. The committee, therefore, Madam Speaker, implores the Ministry of Finance and National Planning to intensify efforts towards debt reduction and domestic resource mobilization through improved revenue collection and deep broadening of the tax base. Madam Speaker, regarding inflation and interest rates, the committee is of the view that higher domestic issuance could maintain in the short term, but disciplined liquidity management and transparent issuance calendars will mitigate volatility and strengthen investor confidence. In relation to the exchange rate, Madam Speaker, the committee observed that limiting foreign currency borrowing reduces exposure to exchange rate shocks and external vulnerabilities. Nonetheless, external pressures, delayed disbursements, or fluctuations in price must be closely monitored, Madam Speaker. The committee commends the government's commitment to the medium-term debt strategy, which is for 2025-2027, which seeks 30 to 70 external to domestic borrowing ratio, and observes that the 2026 annual borrowing plan aligns well with this framework. The committee particularly supports the planned use of domestic liability management operations to reprofile debt and external maturities. Additionally, Madam Speaker, the committee observes that despite a projected net increase in total debt stock of 19.6 billion, the overall trajectory points towards improved debt sustainability, as external debt is expected to decline by approximately $78.1 million due to repayments, which exceeds disbursements. This demonstrates the tangible progress in restoring debt sustainability under the IMF-supported program. The committee, Madam Speaker, therefore fully supports the 2026 borrowing plan, pragmatic balance between fiscal responsibility, macroeconomic stability, and development. It acknowledges that the plan seeks to strengthen market confidence, promote domestic market development, and safeguard stability without compromising the implementation of critical national programs. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, to reaffirm its confidence in the strategic direction of the 2020 annual borrowing plan, enhanced, forward-looking, and sustainable framework that aligns with the objectives of the 8th National Development Plan, medium-term debt strategy, and Zambia's international commitment under the extended credit facility. The committee believes that with action and transparent oversight, Zambia will continue on the path toward fiscal consolidation, debt sustainability, and inclusive growth. I would like to urge this Honorable House, Madam Speaker, to support these recommendations by adopting the report of the committee. Finally, Madam Speaker, in closing, on behalf of the Planning and Budgeting Committee, I wish to extend my profound gratitude to you, Madam Speaker, the Clerk of the National Assembly, and all stakeholders who contributed through oral and written submissions during the meeting to consider the 2026 annual borrowing plan. Their insights, deliberations, and share. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion, so effectively moved by the chair of the committee, urging the House to adopt the report of the committee on the 2026 annual borrowing plan for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly. Madam Speaker, in seconding this important motion, I wish to reaffirm that 2026 annual borrowing plan presents a critical component of Zambia's fiscal management framework. It provides the financing of national budget
deficit while ensuring that sustainable limits. The plan, Madam Speaker, is not merely a financial instrument, but a reflection of determination to restore debt sustainability, strengthen democratic resource mobilization, and align public debt with broader objectives of the 8th National Development Plan. Madam Speaker, I note that 2026 Annual Borrowing Plan has many developed to the provisions of Section 8, Subsection 4 of the Public Debt Management Act number 50 of 2022. Mandates the Minister of Finance and National Planning to present the plan to the National Assembly for approval. Borrowing is undertaken. This process ensures parliamentary oversight, transparency, and the management of public debt. Madam Speaker, the 2026 ABP embodies the principles of prudence and strategic balance. It aligns the 2025 to 2027 strategy, which seeks to achieve a financing of mix of 30% external and 70% domestic borrowing. This ratio, Madam Speaker, is designed to mitigate foreign exchange risks, while deepening the domestic financial market. The plan's emphasis on strengthening the domestic debt market through the reintroduction of the benchmark bond program presents a significant in the country's debt management evolution. This program will support the issuance of long-term sureties, so that redemption profiles investor confidence in Zambia's capital markets. Madam Speaker, I do acknowledge that the committee's analysis of 2026 ABP was guided by the need to balance three key objectives: maintaining fiscal discipline, promoting economic growth, the safeguarding debt sustainability. The plan's restriction to disbursement on existing concessional loans ensure that external financing is confined to projects with ongoing implementation, while simultaneously preventing the accumulation of new non-concessional debt. Madam Speaker, we took note that 34 ongoing projects across strategic sectors including transport, water, sanitation and energy, education, health, and agriculture will benefit from external disbursing amounting to $494.9 million. These projects, Madam Speaker, are the realization of Zambia's development priorities under the 8th National Development Plan, particularly in enhancing infrastructure, human capital, and industrial productivity. Madam Speaker, the committee further notes that the 2026 ABP demonstrate an improved fiscal position compared to the 2025 plan. The total borrowing requirement has declined marginally 4.8 billion to compounded by a reduction of external borrowing, while domestic borrowing has increased. This shift reflects the government strategy to lessen exposure to exchange rate fluctuations and unpredictable global financial conditions. Nevertheless, the increased reliance on domestic borrowing presents its own challenges, particularly in the form of elevation and potential crowding out of private sector investment. To mitigate these risks, the committee recommends enhanced policy coordination between the fiscal and monetary authorities to ensure that government borrowing does not stifle credit availability to the private sector. Furthermore, the committee recommends broadening participation in the government securities market by encouraging pension companies investors contribute to a more investor base. Madam Speaker, the committee observes that the 2026 ABP emphasizes on liability management operations and debt portfolio. Optimization is commendable. I beg your pardon there, Madam Speaker. By elongating maturities and reducing short-term refinancing pressures, the government will be able to smoothen its debt, its time debt service profile, and create predictability in its borrowing operations. The reintroduction of benchmark bonds, Madam Speaker, is not only the technical innovation but also a sign of government's renewed commitment to developing a robust domestic debt market capable of supporting long-term investment. Madam Speaker, let me draw your attention to the... Madam Speaker, I'm being disturbed by some voices. The macroeconomic... Okay. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, allow me to join the mover of the motion in urging this House to adopt the report of the committee and to thank you, Madam Speaker, for affording us the opportunity to serve on this important committee. I also wish to thank the members of your committee for affording me the opportunity to second this motion. Madam Speaker, I beg to second.
Thank you very much. Now we proceed to the debate, but looking at the time, we have less than 40 minutes. So what we do is, I've seen so many indications. I've counted 6 honorable members with the 2 ministers, that's 8, plus winding up, that's 9. So if we can use 4 minutes for the debaters, and also no repetitions, please, so that we make progress and cover. So we start with the Honorable Member from Ghana, 4 minutes.
Madam Speaker, sad that we have to be given that short period of time to debate this very important subject. Madam Speaker, I'm deeply troubled today, deeply troubled. I think there's something wrong with our friends in the UPND. Madam Speaker, 2026, we are borrowing approximately $5.3 billion. Madam Speaker, in one fiscal year, the people on your right, Madam Speaker, wants to borrow $5.3 billion. Madam Speaker, they want to borrow $4.8 billion from within our economy. And on the other hand, they are projecting economic growth. These two things, they don't align in any way. You are projecting growth. Growth can only come from investment from the private participants. Meanwhile, you are drawing out resources that otherwise would have gone to those same private sector players. How can this be arrived at or realized? Madam Speaker, year in, year out, we have been here urging our friends who were so vocal when they were in the opposition that they would not go out borrowing. Today, they are borrowing unprecedentedly $5.3 billion in one fiscal year. This, Madam Speaker, bothers me. It troubles me a lot. This is a country, Madam Speaker, where those in power are making these decisions. Number one, you go and allow your mining companies to continue exporting copper concentrate for free. From June up to December, they have allowed mining companies to be exporting copper concentrate for free. Madam Speaker, what we lose in that decision is not only the little percentage of tax that we're going to be paying at that being processed. Madam Speaker, when you export concentrates, there's so much you lose beyond just the taxes otherwise they would have been paying. This is the government going to borrow $5.3 billion, Madam Speaker, which government is allowing our own money is coming from our citizens on the targets to be given to a contractor that has not performed his obligations. This same government, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I brought a motion yesterday.
Order, honorable members. We don't have much time. Order, honorable member Fonkana.
Can you sit down, you?
Order, honorable member Fonkana. Order. Let's be factual, honorable members, as we debate these issues. We are not going to complete, and the honorable acting minister of finances there is going to respond. So let's give each other time. There's limited time. Honorable member for Skongo, what's the point of order?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, rising on the Standing Order 71, being factual, I think let's not mislead this nation. The country in 2026 budget, the government is borrowing 34. Now, when you divide that,
so honorable member for Skongo, that's why I was guiding.
What he's talking about, 5 billion, where is it coming from?
Order. I was guiding order. I was guiding that the honorable acting minister is there, is going to respond. But please, as we debate, let's learn to be factual. That's what our standing orders require of us. So honorable member Fonkana, please wind up your debate.
Madam Speaker, just in case people didn't read, this is a borrowing plan. On page 2 of the borrowing plan, government, the gross domestic borrowing for the financial year 2026 is projected at 106 billion kwacha. Madam Speaker, 106 billion kwacha is $1 billion. That is in addition to the $12 billion that they are going to borrow externally. This gives you over $5 billion. What is he arguing about? Madam Speaker, I was saying, yesterday I brought a proposition that can save these guys who are now clueless. I suggested government now must begin to handle our mineral resources. These are clueless, Madam Speaker. How can you be borrowing in one fiscal year $5 billion?
Order. Order. Honorable Member Fonkana. Order, honorable members. Honorable Member Fonkana, you know very well that that language is not acceptable in the House. We are not supposed to demean each other. We are honorable members. The members of the public that we represent are watching us, and you are eyeing to be a presidential candidate. So please depict. Make sure that you depict. Order, honorable members. Let me say something. We are a mirror to the society. The young people are looking at us and seeing what we are doing. And for them, they will take it that what we do in the House, what we say in the House, that is the correct way to go. Let's give good example to the young people. And that word that you have said, honorable member, can you withdraw it?
Madam Speaker, I withdraw, guys. Madam Speaker, this is a very simple issue. People must read when they come to debate in this House. This government is borrowing 106 billion kwacha. 106 billion kwacha is, Madam Speaker, $4.8 billion. That's what they're borrowing locally. They are further borrowing $12 billion dollars externally. Of course, they want to ride under the name of, no, we are servicing debt obligations. IFRS reporting standards indicate that when money is at its best, that's when they are counted as debts. So they are borrowing $5.3 billion.
Thank you, honorable member. You are just repeating yourself now. Thank you. Time does not. You have run out of your time. So can we make progress? We call on another member. Honorable, for purposes of balancing the debate, I'll call on the honorable member for Luena.
Now listen to quality, not to.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to debate this motion ably proposed by the honorable member for Momba and equally strongly seconded by the honorable member for Kafurafuta. Madam Speaker, from the outset, as the people of Luena, I would like to indicate that we support this annual borrowing plan. And for very, very good reasons. Number one, this annual borrowing plan, Madam Speaker, aligns very well with our 8th National Development Plan as a country. Number two, this annual borrowing plan, Madam Speaker, actually demonstrates, and it so says, that it reduces the net borrowing from 4.3% of GDP in 2025 to 3.7% of GDP in 2026. Madam Speaker, it's very easy when you don't understand the complexity of economics to make wild conclusions. In order to understand the severity or affordability of debt, you need to look at what the obligations and the capacity to service that debt is. Now, in this case, our GDP is actually growing, and that has contributed to the reduction in the net borrowing percentage as calculated on GDP. As compared to where we are coming from, Madam Speaker, where there was reckless borrowing while the economy was contracting, it was very clear that the capacity by the country to meet its debt obligations was also reduced, which is why we defaulted in 2020. So if there was any team of people that this government needed to learn from on how to manage the economy, it's not going to be from people under whose leadership or under whose stewardship the economy was contracting, Madam Speaker. It's not going to be from a group of people who actually defaulted
and they brought a lot of embarrassment to the nation. Madam Speaker, this annual borrowing plan is setting the country on a path to strong and fundamental economic, on very strong economic principles. That is why the government is still sticking to maintaining inflation, to making sure that we maximize domestic revenue mobilizations, and also, Madam Speaker, ensuring that our obligations that are falling actually as a result of the reckless borrowing of the past, but which this government cannot avoid, will also be serviced next year. So the politicking that we are hearing now, Madam Speaker, we can only excuse it, because a little knowledge, Madam Speaker, can be very, very dangerous. With those few words, Madam Speaker, we support this annual borrowing plan. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm very honest with myself. This is the subject which doesn't need an accountant to understand. I'm not from accountancy world, but I just want to look at a few figures. And I want people, Madam Speaker, to listen to me, because for me, at the end of the day, I give solutions to the problems. We have 34.5 billion budget deficit, and is borrowing bad? Borrowing is not bad as long as you've got the capacity to pay back the money. If you do not have the capacity to borrow back the money, do not borrow. Madam Speaker, we are going to borrow 21.6 billion from the local market. And this is borrowing from government security bonds and maybe from the commercial banks within our country, meaning the interest rate from our banks is going to go up, because each and every bank is more comfortable to lender the government than lending me as an individual. So at the end of the day, it's going to be expensive for myself as an entrepreneur to go up to the open market and borrow the money. So what is the solution to the problem? Because this problem we're going to have is going to hit us at the end of the day. So what is important for us as a nation, Madam Speaker, is to see to it that we open up more tentacles where we can get the financing of our budget. Because yes, for me, Madam Speaker, I'll be very honest with you, I agree, and I'm supporting the idea of borrowing locally, in a sense that we are going to export less dollars outside the Zambian market. In turn, we are going to maintain our exchange rate. And when we maintain our exchange rate, surely for us to import things outside the country, things are going to cheap. But yes, the catch again. We borrow money to invest in, let me just pick one thing which the people of Nyimba are very worried, Madam Speaker. We're seeing the 16.6, it's 16.6%. It's larger than the last year's budget. And if you look at the last year's budget, Madam Speaker, the people of Nyimba in terms of funding to FISIP was limited. And if you look at the projection this year for Eastern Province, God blessed us so much that, if I'm not mistaken, we beat the whole province in terms of maize production. And even today, even after increasing this percentage to issues like FISIP and these other things, in this country, we've still maintained in my district, Madam Speaker, we've still maintained the same numbers. And this the people of Nyimba saying, our population is bigger than some of the districts which are getting double money than the money we're getting. So the question is, why should we support the borrowing when we are not sharing it? Because only few districts with privileged, I don't know if it's member of parliament, Madam Speaker, or whoever is there, they've got more numbers on FISIP than we do. Madam Speaker, how do you justify a district of closer to 200,000 with 20,000, with 13,000 beneficiary of FISIP, to a district which got 60,000 with 24,000 beneficiary? So how do you distribute? So this, it's to Madam Vice President and the Executive, can we look at these districts which are not benefiting much for them to produce more. Madam Speaker, the time is very generous. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's listen to a female member of parliament, the honorable member for Kalulushi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will be very, very brief. I find it very difficult to support this annual budget borrowing plan on behalf of the people of Kalulushi. Madam Speaker, government is proposing to borrow 106 billion, translated 106 billion kwacha. Translated into dollar, it's about $4.8 billion. Madam Speaker, we have seen this government come to the floor of this house, borrow and borrow and borrow. The people of Kalulushi find it very difficult to support this annual borrowing plan because, Madam Speaker, for the last 3 days, there has been total blackout in Kalulushi. No power. And I should stand on the floor of this house and support more borrowing. My people will question, when they borrow, where does the money go to? Mwambashi power station has been switched off for the last 3 days at the expense of the people of Kalulushi to preserve power. And this government is coming to say we must borrow money. When you borrow, we want to see where the money is going. There must be a ripple effect on the ground. And none of us are feeling it, Madam Speaker. This government came to the floor of this house, you in particular, Minister, came to condemn the PF that they overborrowed. At least when they overborrowed, we saw roads. At least when they overborrowed, we saw police stations. We saw universities. Even the universities they are going to were built by the PF. Let them point with the 106 billion, 4.8 billion. If there's a new university that you are going to build, nothing. Madam Speaker, 21.62 billion will go towards financing part of the 2026 budget deficit. Madam Speaker, we all know that about 80% of the budget is personal emoluments. Meaning again, kuliafye, kukongola tuleria. 18. Personal emoluments. What does that mean, Minister? What does that mean? Your salaries. We are borrowing for our salaries. If you hadn't sold those toll gates, the government would be cushioning on the salaries instead of borrowing. Madam Speaker, for me, I find it very, very difficult on behalf of the good people of Kalulushi who have not had power for the last 3 days. Mwambashi power station has been switched off because they are trying to preserve power for who I do not know. And you are asking us to come and borrow 3 days. Our children, this is exam time, Madam Speaker. They are not studying, they are not revising because there has been no power. The small businesses in Kalulushi are on a standstill because 3 days there has been no power. The hospitals, the clinics in Mwambashi have not been operating. For heaven knows how many fatalities we've had the last 3 days, and you are asking us to come and borrow. On behalf of the good people of Kalulushi, we are saying no.
Thank you. I think we know where the debate is going to. We make progress. The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Madam Speaker, let me start by commending the Planning and Budgeting Committee for its comprehensive review of the 2026 Annual Borrowing Plan, presented in accordance with the Public Debt Management Act number 15 of 2022. The 2026 borrowing plan demonstrates government's firm commitment to fiscal prudence and sustainable debt management. It reflects the guiding principles of the 8th National Development Plan and the medium-term debt strategy, particularly the balance between domestic and external financing. The plan supports economic growth and debt sustainability, aligning seamlessly with the 8th National Development Plan and the 2025-2027 medium-term debt strategy. This alignment is crucial as it ensures that our borrowing practices are not only responsible but also strategically targeted towards fostering national development. Madam Speaker, from the perspective of the water and sanitation sector, I wish to acknowledge that the annual borrowing plan continues to prioritize ongoing infrastructure investments that are vital to the well-being of our people. Madam Speaker, this plan, this money will enable us complete projects in Nkana, where Honorable Mpundu comes from. It will help us complete projects in Ilunte and all the other areas. This money is the money which will answer to the water stress in Karurushi. Madam Speaker, specifically, Madam Speaker, approximately 31 million in external disbursement is allocated to the water and sanitation projects, including the Lusaka Sanitation Program, the Transforming Rural Livelihoods projects, the National Rural Water and Sanitation Project, the Integrated Small Towns Water Supply and Sanitation Projects. Madam Speaker, the members of Parliament opposing this plan, are they saying to their people that they do not want water? This government, Madam Speaker, is not like the previous government. We are not borrowing for consumption. Providing water to our people, providing water for energy security, providing water. Water is an economic enabler. You need to do a bit of it to understand what the Minister of Finance is doing. Madam Speaker, the ministry is committed to ensuring that all externally financed water projects are implemented efficiently, transparently, and with full accountability. All the money which will be borrowed will be efficiently utilized. We will continue to collaborate closely with the Ministry of Finance and National Planning to ensure that every kwacha borrowed delivers tangible benefits to our citizens, particularly in improving rural and peri-urban water supply and sanitation systems. The committee has rightly observed that transparency, not like before, fiscal discipline, not like before, and effective coordination between fiscal and monetary policy are essential. We fully support these recommendations. In our sector, Madam Speaker, these principles will translate into better project delivery, sustainable infrastructure, and improved service delivery. Allow me, Madam Speaker, to reaffirm that investments in water and sanitation are not just social services. Honorable Fryer, they are economic enablers. Clean water supports public health. It boosts productivity and enables resilience to climate change. The projects supported under the 2026 annual borrowing plan are therefore strategic investments in Zambia's future. Take notes there. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, my ministry stands ready to continue its role in ensuring that debt-financed water and sanitation projects contribute meaningfully to government's vision of equitable and sustainable development. Together we can transform Zambia into a country where every citizen enjoys safe water and dignified sanitation services. I therefore urge all members of Parliament, including those two there, to support this plan. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Acting Minister of Finance and National Planning will take his normal time to respond.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member for Lunte, please take your seat.
Senior accountant, take note.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Proceed, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me thank the chair of the committee for the report well presented. And in presenting the report, Madam Speaker, he said the report is based on 3 pillars: the pillar of prudence, transparency, and macroeconomic stability. And at the center of this is anchored market confidence. And in the understanding of these key pillars, the most important is the pillar of prudence. Prudence indicates, Madam Speaker, that whatever is owed must be paid as a principle. So whatever is owed must be paid. The maturities that are now ready to be paid must be paid. We don't want to default. These maturities are for what was borrowed 5 years and before are now maturing. And therefore, we must pay. We have no option in terms of prudence. These are maturities which must be paid. What is the appropriate measure, Madam Speaker, is that you must take the proportion of debt to GDP. In 2021, it was around 5%. It's coming down to 3.4. So as a proportion, it means that you are actually doing much better. You are doing much better. It's not the quantum that matters, it's to pay what is actually owed. So we borrow to pay what is owed. Madam Speaker, let me address some of the issues that were raised. This government has basically said we are going to shift from external borrowing as a matter of policy to domestic borrowing. And this is in line to best international practice. So we are getting back to proper international practice. And in terms of 2026 borrowings, the terms of the annual borrowing plan, we have borrowed in line with what we presented in the budget. In terms of what the chair said around transparency, Madam Speaker, in 2021, we overborrowed by 15.4% of GDP. But prudence now is telling us that in order to calm down and run the economy properly, we are demonstrating, we have removed subsidies on fuel. We have removed subsidies on electricity. Even in the most difficult period where we had a drought, we did not borrow, but we used the same resource in the budget and rearranged it. So we did not resort to borrowing. And that is what is called prudence. Within the same budget, we rearrange, even in the most difficult period. Madam Speaker, an issue was raised around the issue raised is about growth.
Yeah.
That you can't, you restrict domestic growth by borrowing. To the contrary, Madam Speaker, what has happened is that investments have actually grown up. And the evidence is there. In mining, the S3, $1.2 billion. Dollars. In Lumwana, the super shaft, we are going to have 2.2. In Lumwana, the super P to be 2 billion. I'm demonstrating that the level of investment, the question that was raised, vis-a-vis the borrowing, that this borrowing will constrain investment. To the contrary, we are demonstrating that actually investment is on the upswing. And if you just take the last one or 2 weeks, Madam Speaker, a starch plant, $60 million US, employing 1,000. That's investment. We are now able to produce urea and export in the region. That is investment. Yeah. So to the contrary, the investment is actually going and going. Madam Speaker, let me thank the chair who has outlined in the report that he has presented. I'm referring to the report and the issues that you actually that were raised in the report, and I'm answering to just purely, raised in the report. Madam Speaker, the growth in reserves, if you take it, it's in the report. In 2021, our reserves stood at 1.2 billion.
Only.
In 2025, the reserves are 4.7 billion. And this is in the report. This is in the report. So we are growing the reserves. Because the economy is growing. Because investment is growing. That is what is important. Madam Speaker,
Professor Mutati.
Madam Speaker, I think the key is that for any nation, there is nothing wrong to borrow. What is important is being prudent with what you borrow. And our DNA is to borrow prudently and be able to pay even the debts that were brought forward. At the same time, growing the economy. And we are growing this economy next year to almost 6%.
From 2.9 from negative 2.8.
From negatives. Yes. From negative to positive. So it means that there is prudent management of the economy. Absolutely no struggle. We are doing it the correct way. We are doing it the correct way. Methodically, indeed. Madam Speaker, let me conclude by thanking the committee for the work that has been done and accepting the proposed recommendation of the annual borrowing plan. This is a demonstration of how serious this august House and indeed the Zambian people take the country's economic and debt situation. We thank the committee for supporting the adoption, the committee for supporting the adoption of the annual borrowing plan. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Momba, winding up debate. 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Let me thank all the debaters and the two ministers for their responses. Madam Speaker, just to put things in perspective, what is being borrowed, Madam Speaker, is just about $960 million, as opposed to what the Honorable Mpundu said. Madam Speaker, these are accounting terms. The gross, obviously, is 106 billion. Then the financing is 84 billion. You remain with the net borrowing of 21.6. Honorable Kafaya, we are together in screening accounts. These things are very straightforward. Honorable members, that is the position, Madam Speaker. And also, lastly, just to indicate to honorable members that the committee is happy with the fact that this government, Madam Speaker, is increasing in terms of the domestic resource mobilization. We are now at 86% of our total budget. That is a big drive, Madam Speaker. 4 years ago, we were about 47%, meaning we are borrowing more than what, in fact, we were able to get within our own resources. So, Madam Speaker, with this trajectory, I think one must be comforted to the fact that we are on the right path. Madam Speaker, let me again thank the committee for giving me this time to manage this team, the hard-working committee on the Planning and Budgeting Committee. We thank you also, Madam Speaker, for giving us this opportunity to manage this process. With that said, Madam Speaker, I want again to plead with my members that we support this plan. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Time to make the decision. I put the question. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the consideration of the 2026 Annual Borrowing Plan for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th October 2025. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary, say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. The threshold has not been achieved, so the call for division falls off. So we make progress. Her Honor the Vice President, adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House now adjourns.
The question is that the House now adjourns. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
We do expect the House to resume sitting next week, Tuesday. Time now to look at the business, which was considered on the floor of the House from 09 hours. So when business resumed, Madam Speaker did make two announcements. In the first announcement, she recognized the presence in the public gathering of people and teachers from my father's house in the Lusaka district, and on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, Madam Speaker welcomed the visitors to the registration. In the second announcement, Madam Speaker recognized the councillors from Katombora constituency. And on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, she warmly welcomed the visitors.
We did have honor the Vice President's question time, 45-minute segment, and we did see the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Honorable Haimbe, deliver a ministerial statement on Zambia's participation at the 80th United Nations General Assembly UNGA 80, held in New York, USA, from the 2nd to the 29th of September 2025. And so the Minister did give highlights of the 80th UN General Assembly, among them that the high-level meeting on gender equality commemorating the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration, where Zambia reaffirmed its commitment to empowering women and girls, and at the 4th level meeting on non-communicable diseases and mental health, where the Minister of Health for Zambia reaffirmed Zambia's commitment to reducing the burden of NCDs and promoting mental well-being.
The Climate Ambition Summit, where Zambia outlined its climate commitments and called for stronger international actions. The summit of the African Union Committee of 10 reaffirming Zambia's unwavering support for the African Common Position on Security Council reform, and the first biennial summit for a sustainable, inclusive and resilient global economy, where Zambia called for fairer and faster debt relief and improved financing mechanisms for developing countries.
Looking at the key outcomes and deliverables, the Minister did say that Zambia's participation at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly yielded a number of tangible diplomatic and developmental outcomes that reinforce the country's international standing and support the aspirations of the 8th National Development Plan.
In the area of development cooperation, Zambia secured renewed commitments to support key national priorities in health, education, tourism and private sector development. Of particular note was the agreement to expedite the implementation of existing memoranda of understanding signed with the Kingdom of Morocco in 2024.
And so in order to translate these outcomes into national benefit, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, in collaboration with relevant line ministries, will implement a structured follow-up mechanism that will include activating bilateral agreements, coordinating with our development partners and technical cooperation, and monitoring Zambia's climate and sustainable development goals, commitment at national and international levels.
Yes, indeed. So the Minister also gave some highlights on the outcomes of the 20th meeting of the COMESA Ministers of Foreign Affairs and the 24th Summit of the COMESA Authority and Heads of State and Government, under the theme Leveraging Digitalization to Deepen Regional Value Chains for Sustainable and Inclusive Growth.
And so the outcomes of the 20th meeting of COMESA Ministers of Foreign Affairs did review the status report on peace and security, covering developments in Ethiopia, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. And so that's just a brief of the ministerial statement that was delivered by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Yes, indeed. After that ministerial statement, the House did consider two ordinary questions, Understanding Order 82. The first question did come from Ms. Marjorie Nakaponda, Isoka Member of Parliament, who did ask the Minister of Education how many community schools were in Isoka district as of August 2025, and the Minister stated that there were 4 community schools in Isoka. In B, over the schools above, women were earmarked for upgrading to government schools. In response, we did hear the Minister say that all the 4 schools are earmarked for upgrading. In answering part C, which was when the schools will be upgraded, the Minister said that the process is being implemented this year in 2025.
Question 45 did come from Mr. Mabenga of Mlowezi constituency. He did ask the Minister of Green Economy and Environment a question in 4 parts: when the Forestry Department in Mlowezi district will be provided with a motor vehicle to ease operational challenges, and in response the minister said that this will be done in the next phase, that's 2026. In the other part of the question, the Mlowezi lawmaker wanted to find out whether government has any plans to recruit more forest officers, and the minister did say that government does have plans to recruit more forest officers in addition to the ones that were recruited recently, and this will be implemented or undertaken in a phased manner. So those are the two questions that were considered on the floor of the House under Standing Order number 80.
Yes, indeed. We also did see the House considering a motion which was moved by Momba Member of Parliament, Mr. Fred Jadila. And in moving this motion, Mr. Jadila was urging the House to adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the consideration of the 2026 Annual Borrowing Plan for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th October 2025. And this motion was seconded by Mr. Jeffrey Mulebwa Kafula-Futa, Member of Parliament. The motion was adopted.
And so that's the business considered on the floor of the House today. Remember, business resumes next week on Tuesday. And so from all of us, it's thank you for your time. Have a great weekend and take care. Bye-bye.
There are moments in our lives that live forever.